This is a story of how I went from 0 followers to 175,000 followers on TikTok in the last 30 days and then had my account suspended. Now, just very quickly, if this is your first time here, make sure you go and click on that subscribe button and then drop a comment down below saying subscribed, and I will personally reply to your comment. So as a South African, I think this video is super important because it speaks to a lot of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about in this video is, of course, very controversial. I could not post it on TikTok. This is the reason I'm here posting it on YouTube. I want people to know the story. I want people to know why my account was suspended. And more importantly, I want to educate people on exactly what is going on. So let's start with some good news first. My profile is back up and running. They've lifted the suspension. And the good news is I'm up to 180,000 followers. Also want to take you guys and show you the analytics just so you can see the actual growth for yourself. And we're going to take a look over the last 60 days. So you can see if you go back to the beginning of May, I pretty much had 115 followers, pretty much just friends and family. And then towards the beginning of June, I started to post those very controversial videos. The ones about the petrol pricing, those were the first videos that I put out, and this account just absolutely went bananas. And then here we're looking at the 9th of July, the account was sitting at 179,000, and that is pretty much where I got suspended. But I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. But of course, this kind of growth is just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, literally, in the space of 30 days, we jumped from almost 0 to almost 180,000. That is just absolutely mind-bending. Also, in the interest of full transparency, you will notice that on my profile, I've removed all the petrol pricing videos. I've also removed all the Eskom videos. I'll explain exactly why in a couple of minutes. And if you are looking for those videos, you can get them here on my YouTube channel. All of those videos are here. Every single video that I uploaded, and actually a couple more which never made it to TikTok, are here on this YouTube channel. So by all means, go and watch them, and please feel free to share them with your friends and family. So what a lot of people don't know is that I've been creating content online since about 2 years ago. Pretty much at the start of the pandemic, my business partners and I decided that we wanted to help people. We started a YouTube channel giving out free educational advice around money and finance because these are the businesses that we're involved in. TikTok was never on my radar pretty much until early this year. I created my profile, I started posting a couple of videos, and then of course the fuel pricing started to become a really big issue. And one of the big issues for me personally was the fact that I felt we were paying too much tax. And I felt that, not only was the tax on the fuel a problem, but the fact that we're paying so many taxes on the way to the fuel pump. And I really wanted to get this message across to the average person because most people did not know how the taxation on fuel worked. And so I pretty much defaulted to the only way I know how to explain things. I literally grabbed a clipboard, some colored markers, and I started drawing pictures for people. I literally try to make it as simple as possible for people in pictures because this is the way I remember things. And it was an instant hit. I mean, those videos that I initially put out got millions and millions of views. In fact, I've kept all of my original notes as somewhat of a memento. And, this is pretty much what got all the traction on TikTok because I think for the first time, people could actually see their money in pictures. And it was pretty uncanny because I found myself going to petrol stations and even the petrol attendants were turning around and saying to me for the first time in their lives, they actually understood how the taxation worked. To my surprise, most people were actually pretty positive about the videos, and most of the people were very grateful about the fact that somebody was out there educating people on how fuel taxation worked. And the fact of the matter is, my argument wasn't necessarily that, the taxation on fuel needed to be dropped, but rather that we needed to reduce taxes overall because I felt we were taxed too many times on the way to the pump as well as at the pump itself. And so this started a really healthy debate online, and I was really proud about the fact that people were sort of starting to debate these critical issues. And this sort of encouraged me to take on some additional subjects. And of course, the next subject that I took on was government salaries. And this again was pretty well received. For the most part, most people were pretty positive, and yes, there were a couple of people pushing back who were obviously government employees, but for the most part, very well received, lots of really good and stimulating debate, and I felt like, we had matured a hell of a lot online, And it was just so surprising to me that people from all walks of life were really getting involved in this active discussion. And it was something I was extremely, extremely proud of. And then around, I think it was 65,000 followers, I got a strike against this video where I was showing our other YouTube channel, which is Global Money Academy, where we had got 1.3 million views on the channel since we started. And pretty much the strike was for inauthentic content, basically stating that obviously it wasn't true. And so I naturally appealed this. It took some time, but as you can see from the screenshot on the page, I successfully appealed this and they restored the video. However, unfortunately with TikTok, this stays on your violation record. The thing that I found really strange about this is that this video had been up for quite a considerable amount of time. So it didn't seem to me as if this was an automated process. It wasn't as if the algorithm had triggered this. It was almost as if somebody had reported this video. Nonetheless, I felt I had reached out to TikTok, spoken to them, proven that the video was authentic, and they'd restored it. And I pretty much felt like that it was water under the bridge and we could move on. Then at about 85,000 followers, I picked up 2 additional violations. Now the first violation was a bit strange because essentially it was a duet. I basically didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. The original video content was basically somebody talking about the fact that they'd lost a lot of money on an altcoin in crypto, and the soundtrack was basically of somebody laughing, and the person who had posted the video was actually laughing about their loss, and my duet was laughing as well. And basically when it came back to me, the violation was for harassment and bullying. I appealed it. Unfortunately, it didn't go through, and so that stayed on my violation record. The next video that I put out that got a violation once again was for me doing a story on the war between Russia and the Ukraine. And I was talking specifically about the fact that I found it pretty strange that a country as small as the Ukraine could, impact the entire global supply chain of pretty much everything in such a way as it's pretty much being portrayed to do. And that, I think that there's a lot more behind the scenes going on that we're being told in the traditional media, and that people should just maybe think about things and look at the map and take into consideration the size of the Ukraine, the size of Russia in relation to the rest of the world. And this video pretty much got struck as inauthentic content. I once again appealed it. It got turned down. But what struck me as very strange is that in all of these cases, the videos actually ran for a considerable amount of time before they actually triggered violations. And so once again, I was left with the question, was this in fact the algorithm, or was it actually somebody reporting the videos? I then started to put out some videos on load shedding, and I started to reveal exactly why we were going through the current load shedding in South Africa. A lot of people believed it was because of the traditional capacity issues, when in fact the real truth behind it was because there was currently wage negotiations and strikes underway at Eskom. And this is something that wasn't making its way into the mainstream media, and I felt that the public needed to know about it. So I started making these videos public. I started circulating these videos. They started getting a lot of traction, and this is where my problem started. At the same time I was putting these videos out, I decided to try and give away 1,000 Rand to one of my TikTok followers. And basically all I asked them to do was to share my video, to follow my profile, and just to drop a comment. And I'd gone and made sure that I wasn't violating community guidelines. I was pretty confident that nothing that I was doing was untoward. And little did I know, within a day or two, that this video would once again create another violation on my account. So, I appealed it. Once again, it was rejected, and I was sitting with another violation on my account. Again, lots of questions in my mind at the time. But it was also around this time that I started to notice some really interesting comments popping up on my videos on TikTok, specifically from Eskom employees. And they were talking about the fact that I was distorting facts through my videos, especially where I'd stated that Eskom was the 4th best paying employer in the country, which is a statistical fact, and that the average salary at Eskom is 737,000. That is, of course, taking into account the calculation, we take the total wage bill divided by the total number of employees. And they were saying that I was distorting the facts and working against the average worker at Eskom who is underpaid. And of course, this started to lead to more sinister comments, and I started to see these comments coming through more regularly. And this turned into emails, and emails started to flood into my inbox with some very threatening emails, some directly, some not so direct. And this started to make its way onto my Facebook page. Lots of very, very sinister commentary. If you want to see those comments, you can just go onto the Facebook page, Money Tribe 21, and have a look at some of the Eskom videos and go and read some of the comments on there, and you'll see for yourself some very, very negative commentary with people saying most people that make videos like this or comments like this land up 6 foot under. So not directly threatening me, but at least making it known that what I'm saying definitely touched a nerve. Despite the very aggressive commentary and emails and pushback from Eskom employees and some NUMSA members, I actually invited Eskom through Twitter to actually engage with me in an open debate, as I wanted to put a lot of these questions and commentary directly to the board members. Of course, nothing came of that. But the point is, I never shied away from this level of aggression and commentary. And in fact, wherever possible, I continue to carry the narrative that everybody is welcome to their opinion and that everybody's entitled to a degree of free speech. In fact, in most of the lives that I've hosted on TikTok and most of the videos that I've put out, I've spoken about the fact how robust debate is an important part of democracy. And even if we don't agree with each other, it is important that we all want something better for our country, and that even if we aren't all agreeing on things, that we're at least pulling in the same direction in terms of wanting a better future for the country. And this is where I feel it is important that we continue to have uncomfortable discussions. And so I never shied away from the threats. I never shied away from the ugly comments that came towards me. And in fact, I continued to make videos because I thought it was healthy to bring up these debates. And then as I continued to make these videos, I started to notice more and more of these almost like bot-like comments on my videos from what looked like Eskom employees. And then all of a sudden, I was hit with one major strike against my account, and the account was suspended. And as you can see from the image on your screen, I appealed the strike against this video that ultimately got my account suspended. It was unfortunately unsuccessful. That of course led to me being suspended for the next 5 days. And that gave me some time to sit down and think about how I'm going to use my TikTok profile going forward. It also highlighted some of the risks and, of course, made me sit down and think about what I'm going to do with my TikTok profile going forward and the responsibility I have to the 180,000 people that have trusted me enough to follow me on the platform. And of course, the big question, how am I going to continue educating people about these important subjects, especially considering where our country is at this very moment in time? So the first decision I've made is that I will not be publishing any controversial content matter to TikTok anymore. And the biggest reason for this is that it is just too easy for people to complain and pretty much trigger violation warnings on a creator's account. And so that content I'm rather going to bring to a place like YouTube, where first of all, I feel safer to create that content here. Secondly, I believe that with a longer form content like the one that YouTube supports, we're able to go into a little bit more detail. We're able to host discussions and also engage a lot better than what we are able to do on TikTok. Having said that, TikTok is still an incredible platform. I'm going to really look after and nurture the 180,000 people that have trusted me. I'm going to keep producing educational content. I'm just going to steer away from some of those very controversial subjects and really play it safe, because I do believe that there is a huge space to educate people on TikTok. But obviously, we need to be very aware of the fact that TikTok has got a job to do. They're wanting to keep their platform free of, all of the stuff that crept into Facebook over the years, into Instagram over the years. And TikTok is really doing their level best. But unfortunately, some creators are going to get caught in the sort of crosshairs. So, from my perspective, I think it's just makes a lot more sense to protect the 180,000 people that I've built up and to focus on really adding value in a way that doesn't trigger anybody and really just plays it safe. That being said, for the more controversial stuff, it is going to live here on YouTube, and I'm going to keep pushing the boundaries. So if you are into that sort of content, you do want to know what's going on in the country, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because we are going to be bringing out some heavy hitting content right here on the Money Tribe channel on YouTube. Now, as I said, full disclosure, my previous videos have been taken down off the TikTok platform. I have personally taken them down. In fact, originally I turned them to private, and then I made a very difficult decision to actually delete them off the platform, which of course means that I lost more than 250,000 likes off the profile, which was absolutely soul destroying. And of course, you know, for anybody who's created and understood the difficulty of getting that many people to actually like your content and engage with your content, it really was a very difficult decision. But I felt that it was more important to protect the 180,000 people who've decided to follow me and trust me for my content. And so I'm going to be focusing on producing content that is a little less sensitive to people, that, you know, fits for a more universal audience. And like I said, the more controversial stuff is going to live here on YouTube. I think the most difficult part for me to come to terms with through this whole process is that we really do believe that we've got freedom of speech. And, you know, my intention has never been to go out and hurt anybody. I've been very clear in all of my content that I put out. It's never been aimed at any specific person. I have no party affiliations. I've got no political aspirations. I've got no political desire to push a narrative. It is simply about telling the truth through numbers. And what is very evident to me is that there are some very dark and sinister people in our society that are definitely pushing their agendas. And certainly there is a network of people, if we can call them agents and provocateurs, that are working online against any sort of content that exposes the truth. And that, for me, has become extremely evident. And so I think it is absolutely imperative that when good content comes out, like the content that I've been sharing, that we have a duty as citizens of this country, not only to, you know, consume the content, but to share that content with our friends and family, to share that content with people around us. Because, you know, people always ask me, they say, Justin, what is the point of you putting out this content? And the remark I always have is very simple. It is about educating people, because I believe that educated people make different choices. You know, educated people understand the consequences of their choices. And so I think we're reaching a stage in our very young democracy where for the first time we're starting to question leadership. We're starting to question how our money is being spent. And, you know, we've had to sink to an extremely low point to get to a place where we are now finally starting to ask difficult questions. And I think it is healthy as long as we respect each other, as long as we, you know, don't continue to make it about race, and, you know, we don't continue to politicize everything. I think we're going to have a very healthy democracy and a beautiful country at that. But it is important that each and every one of us play our role. So when you see a critical piece of information out there, if it is important, share it. And by the way, guys, if you've got a piece of information that you're sitting on that you think the public needs to know about, send me an email. Let's talk about the content, because I want to educate South Africa. I want this country to know about what is going on around them. And not only that, as much as it is all about exposing things and showing things, I also want to educate people on how to use their money. I want to educate people on how to get the most out of their money, you know, how to make their money work for them. Because I've said this many times before, you know, if we can get our country back to the richness it deserves, if we can live up to the ideals that we all strive for, I think we can have an incredible, incredible country. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for being part of the Money Tribe. And I look forward to chatting with you guys in the comment section down below.